Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day, everyone. Okay, for today, this video is going to discuss about water, electrolyte, and acid-base balance. A little bit of introduction of the topic. Cellular functions require fluid medium with carefully controlled consumption, since all of us know that our body consists of 60% of water. So this topic is fairly important, really important to understand, especially for us as a sportman, and how is the best strategy to maintain our hydration level to achieve hue hydration state. And this is a fundamental topic of how you can understand your body better, the physiology and anatomy of fluid, electrolyte, and acid-base balance. So three types of homeostatic balance, which are the water balance, electrolyte balance, and acid-base balance. These are three homeostatic balance in our body. Okay, water doesn't necessarily have electrolytes, and water itself doesn't necessarily to have acid base in it. So everything incorporate one to another, but have to be balanced at the same time to achieve homeostatic. So balance maintained by a collective action by the urinary, as I discussed in my previous topic, respiratory also, okay, because some amount of water can be lost from the respiratory activity. Digestive, of course, digestive involved with the absorption of fluids as well in the small and large intestine. And integumentary system, our skin also responsible in losing water and absorbing water. Okay, more to lost water due to sweat, via sweat, not too much on absorbing in our skin, but more to excretions of sweat. And then endocrine system, few hormones are responsible for water absorption and water loss. For example, vasopressin, and anti-vasopressin. Nervous system also involved in water loss due to certain regulation between muscles and neuromuscular neuromuscular activity. And then, of course, cardiovascular as well. And then, last but not least, lymphatic system, which consists of body mechanism, defensive mechanism. It requires some water intake and water loss in it. So these are some class activities that you can do. Okay, name a major fluid compartment and explain how water moves from one to another. Major fluids compartment and explain how water moves from one to another based on different, pressure. And we know that, right? We have learned this in our, anatomy and physiology 1, how water moves from one place to another. Okay, this depends on the difference in pressure and volume as well. Okay, the concentration of water will be responsible in moving water from one spot to another spot. And then list the body's source of water and routes of the water loss. Okay, you can look at the diagram of our body, okay, and then try to draw or list down. In fact, you can list down from consumption through the oral cavity, and then go to the esophagus. Then what else? Go to the stomach, and stomach go to the small intestine, large intestine. Then apart from that, it can absorb. Okay, if it's not defecated through the feces, it will absorb. Water will be absorbed in the body through the circulatory system to the blood circulation, and then it will balance the hydrogen. It will balance up the acid base, electrolyte, of course the water itself, the fluid content of our body itself, and then you can if too much of water, the brain can send diuretic hormones to the kidney, and then for the kidney to excrete more water through the urine. And if not, it will remain in the body to maintain the homeostatic system of our body in a particular basis. So that's a bit rough idea of a class FT2. You can do it yourself in a bit more detail. And then describe the mechanism of regulating water intake and output. Okay, actually we have discussed this. What makes you thirst, and then consume water, okay, drink water, and then what are hormones that are involved. You can do it yourself. I really encourage you to understand this. Do it yourself. Try to be more resourceful. Go search this information in the internet. Okay, what are the mechanisms that regulates water intake and water loss? It might be because of the temperature, demand of the body, water of the body, water loss, diuretic, things that you consume. Okay, if you consume too much caffeine, that could relate to also water loss due to increase in the vasopressin, and then the body require more water. Okay, not necessary. So I can generally divide the mechanism into two categories, which is internal mechanism and external mechanism. So internal mechanism, which is the regulation of a body itself, and an external mechanism is due to hot weather or cold weather, and also things that you consume. That is the external mechanism of regulating water intake and output of your body. And then the last one, class activity. You can also, to make you understand better, you can do it yourself at home to describe some condition in which the body has a deficiency or excess of water, or an improper distribution of water among the fluids compartment. Okay, like for example, dehydration, thirst, and rehydration. All the condition that relates to balance of water, acid base, and all electrolyte of the body. So newborn body weight is about 75% of water, consists of 75% water. This is what I mentioned. But when you are small, of course, your proportion of water is higher compared to adults. Okay, when you're adults, of course, your bone is a bit more dense. Same goes with your other tissues of the body. So that makes the constitution of water, the proportion of water in your body is a little bit lesser compared to when you're an infant. Okay, for young men, it's average of 55% to 60% of water percentage of your body. And a woman, average is slightly lesser, of water body content compared to male. And obese and elderly people has have as little as 45% by body weight of water in the body. So the older you got, the lesser fluid or water content percentage in your body. So for a man that have a weight of 70%, will have approximately 40 liters of water in his body. So that is how we can, relate it to body weight. Constitutes of 40 liters of water for a man to have 70 kilogram weight body mass. And then this is a fluid compartment, major fluid compartment of the body. 65% consists of intracellular fluid, all the cytoplasm sort of things, and then 35% is extracellular fluid, okay, ICF and ECF. So 65 and 35% of from the, this is 65 and 35% not from your body weight, but from your total water of your body, from this 40 liter, okay, or from the 60% of your body weight, okay, 60% of it is 60%. 65% from the 60% of total body fluid is intracellular, and the remaining is extracellular. I hope you can understand. And for extracellular, it can be further divided into several compartments, which are 25% of the tissue, interstitial fluid, okay, tissue fluid, okay, fluids that surrounds the tissue, and 8% from blood plasma and lymphatic fluid, okay. Water that fill up the our circulation, and also our lymphatic system as well. Whilst 22% transcellular fluid, or we call it as a catch-all category, which are the cerebrospinal fluid, fluids of your central nervous system, synovial fluid, fluid of your joints, okay, peritoneal, pleural, okay, fluids in between your pleural cavity, okay, peritoneal, same goes with peritoneal, and also pericardial fluid. Pericardial is also fluids that surrounds the organs, okay. This is mainly surrounds the organ, inside the organ, which is inside the joint, synovial joint, and then also, yeah, same goes with cerebrospinal. And then the next one, okay, the next within this 2% of transcellular fluid is vitreous and aqueous humors of an eye, okay, fluids in an eye, within the eye socket, and also inside the eyeball, and then also bile and fluids of the digestive system, urinary and reproductive tract, okay. That constitutes of these 2% of category of transcellular fluid. And then fluid continually exchange between compartment. It can be exchanged from one compartment to another, in order to achieve balance within our body. If one compartment is lacking, of course, you're going to absorb, you're going to transfer the fluids from other compartment to the compartment that is lacking. So this is, speaks volume of the function or how fluids in the body moves around, okay, based on the different pressure and osmolality as well, okay. It can move around based on that, okay. So water moves by osmosis, okay. Different osmolality will higher osmolality will move to lower osmolality area. So osmosis, absorption depends on the different pressure and then concentration of the osmolality of these 2 points, difference of these 2 points. Okay, because water moves so easily through plasma membranes, osmotic gradient, okay, osmotic gradients never last for very long. If imbalance arises, osmosis restores balance within seconds of the intracellular and extracellular osmolarity are equal. Okay, so that's that. Osmosis from one fluid compartment to another is determined by the relative concentration of the solutes in the compartment. So it depends on this factor. The electrolytes, sodium salts, potassium salt, and potassium salts. Okay, this will constitute the osmosis, the activity of osmosis between one compartment to another compartment. These are the factors that, if one area lacks of electrolytes, of course, move to the area that have low concentration of electrolytes. Same goes with sodium and potassium. Okay. And why sodium and potassium is mentioned different in both extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid. I hope you understand this because we've learned this already. Where does sodium under the resting state? Where does sodium located, and where does potassium located? Okay, of course, potassium will be inside the cell when you're resting, while sodium will mainly circulates or will be in the extracellular fluid. And when it's exchanged, that's where the actual potential will happen. Okay. So electrolytes play the principal role in governing the body water distribution and total body water content. So electrolytes plays the main role, apart from other factors. But most important thing is electrolyte, because that's where the activities of our cells happen. Different gradients in electrolytes. Okay. So this is the pictures of water movement between major fluid compartments. Okay, when you drink water, it will go to your digestive system and then absorb to your bloodstream, go to your circulation, and the circulation will supply all the bloods and nutrients in the cell. Okay, comes to the cellular level, and then cellular level can absorb to the lymphatic system. Of course, you can get back to the bloodstream for excretion if it's excessive. So that's how the cycle is, the movement of water within our body. So fluid balance, when daily gains and losses are equal, that's where you achieve euhydration. Okay, so I want you to remember this terminology, euhydration. So euhydration means a normal state of hydration level. Hypohydration is under, hypohydration means the level of water below euhydration. Okay, under under normal level, while hyperhydration means beyond, okay, above, overhydrated. So dehydration, on the other hand, means the process of achieving hypohydration. So I hope you understand that, this terminology: euhydration, hypohydration, hyperhydration, and dehydration. Dehydration is a process Okay. All right. So moving on. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, moving on. Okay, fluid balance. When daily gains and losses are equal, okay, we have discussed this. So about 2,500 milliliter per day of water is consumed and also secreted in your body. Okay, and then and gain from will come from two sources, which are performed water, which is the ingested food and drink. Okay, based on this proportion, 200 milliliter is from the ingested food, while 1,600 is from the drink, from drink beverage that we consume. Whilst the remaining is come from the metabolic water, the byproduct of your metabolism, and dehydration synthesis, as you can see in the equation here. Okay. This is carbohydrate plus salt oxygen. This is aerobic respiration, aerobic way or oxidative phosphorylation in producing ATP generally. So carbohydrate and oxygen will produce carbon dioxide. 6 molecule of carbon dioxide is also 6 molecule of water as a byproduct to produce adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so this is metabolic water. So sensible water loss is observed as your urine. Okay, 1,500 milliliter per day will be from your urine, and then 200 ml per day is from your feces. Okay, and then 100 ml per day is from your sweat in resting it out. But when you are, exercise a bit more, high, you burn more. I would say, calorie. Of course, the percentage from the urine will reduce, and this part will increase. Okay, this volume of water from this compartment will increase. Okay. Apart from sensible water loss that we can measure, literally we can measure. There's other proportion of water that lost in insensible way or unnoticed way, which come from the breath. It's difficult to measure. Water lost from the vapor that we produce during the respiration activity. And then 400 ml per day is cutaneous transpiration. Again, this is not sweat. Okay, this is not sweat. Cutaneous transpiration. This is skin within the integumentary system, but water absorbed. Okay, out from water absorbed and water secreted out from the sweat gland. Okay, because of the the absorption of substances within our skin require a division of water to allow the activity of or the process of absorption and secretion to happen. So you need some amount of water for that. Okay. Loss varies greatly with environment and activity. Of course, when it's hot and humid, it will secrete more water. Compared to cold and dry environment. So obligatory water loss. Output that is relatively unavoidable. Obligatory water loss. Okay, you can avoid that. Okay, which are expired air, continuous transpiration, sweat, fecal moisture, and also urine output. So these are obligatory water loss. So you will lost water, definitely lost water from this pathways. So this is a simplified version for you better understand. Intake come from where, and then output from where. So if the intake is same as output, it means that you achieve hydration state. Okay. So what does govern the sensation of water intake? That's due to the regulation of thirst. That's things that govern water intake in our body. Okay, fluid intake of our body. So this is what I mentioned just now. Dehydration, it reduces blood volume and blood pressure, decrease blood osmolality. Dehydration is the process when someone or a person under dehydration, of course the blood volume will reduce, and when the blood volume will reduce, the blood pressure will equally reduce as well. Okay. And then blood osmolality will definitely increase. So how can the body detect whether the body is dehydrated? It's from the osmoreceptor properties or osmoreceptor part in the hypothalamus. So it responds to angiotensin 2 produced when blood pressure drops and raise in osmolality of the extracellular fluids will drop in volume. Okay, so angiotensin in the hypothalamus will detect the drop in blood pressure, rise in osmolality. So osmoreceptor communicate with hypothalamus and cerebral cortex. They communicate one to another. And hypothalamus produce antidiuretic hormones. So hypothalamus will produce antidiuretic or anti-vasopressin hormones that will conserve water. It will remain the water. Okay, if someone's dehydrated, of course, antidiuretic will secrete it from the hypothalamus to stop from further water loss in your body. Okay. And then cerebral cortex produce conscious sense of thirst. Okay, part of the cerebral cortex will trigger the low blood pressure and then started to increase the sense of thirst. And then salivation is inhibited with thirst as well. When lack of water in the body, the cerebral cortex will ask this, will ask, will make lesser salivation to happen, meaning that your mouth will be dry. When your mouth will dry, it will demand more fluid intake through the oral. So it's wise enough. The God has created a wise enough low water level in our body. The brain will ask the mouth to stop salivation, and when it stops salivation, your oral cavity will become dry. When it becomes dry, of course, you will seek for fluid to wet your mouth, oral cavity. The next one is the regulation of intake. Okay. Long-term inhibition of thirst, absorption of water from small intestine, reduce osmolality of the blood, stops the osmoreceptor response, promotes capillary filtration, makes the saliva more abundant and watery. Okay, inhibition meaning stop the sensation of thirst, or in other words, stop from taking more water. Okay, or else you're gonna end up having a water fluid or fluid toxification. Too much of water also can become toxic to our body, so you don't want to get that. All right. That is a long term, and let's look at the short term water inhibition of thirst. Okay, it will the body will inhibit water consumption when there is a cooling and moistening of the mouth. Okay, and then distension of stomach and distension of stomach and small intestine also will stop from water intake. Okay, and this will long for 30 to 45 minutes satisfaction. Yes, this is the dehydration and thirst. Okay. So these are the regulation I explained earlier, but in a diagram form, you can read and understand this. So we have discussed about intake, inhibition of intake. So let's now discuss about look into the regulation of output. Okay. Only way to control water output significantly is through urination. Okay. Although there's other way, for example, as sweating, but mainly it's through urine. Kidney cannot replace water or electrolytes. So you have to remember that. Kidney cannot replace water and electrolytes. It can just absorb and reabsorb. We have discussed this as well. Only slow rate of water and electrolyte loss until water and electrolyte can be ingested. So I hope you can understand this. This happens in the loops, loops of Henle within your nephron. Okay, generally within your nephron. The absorption, reabsorption, secretion, and until the excretion. And then how is the mechanism? Change in urine volume links to adjustment of sodium reabsorption. As sodium is reabsorbed or excreted from the water flows. The water follows. And then continuation from the regulation of water output. The concentration of urine through action of ADH, antidiuretic hormones. So antidiuretic hormones secretion stimulates by the hypothalamic osmoreceptor, as what I explained earlier, in response to dehydration. So antidiuretic hormones is stopping from dehydration to further happen and promotes water intakes to the body. Okay, increase the sensation of thirst. Okay, to allow body to add more water in them. And then aquaporins synthesize response to antidiuretic hormones. And aquaporins is the membrane proteins in renal collecting ducts whose job is to channel water back into renal medulla, and then sodium is still excreted. A slow decrease in water volume and increase osmolality. Concentrates urine. All right. So yeah, I will stop here now. Let's continue this other part of this topic. Thank you very much. Okay.